Welcome to the COMC Community Spotlight Show. It's presented, of course, by the great folks at Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission, and we've got a special guest this week. It is the Sheriff of Camden County, Chris Edgar. Thank you, sir, for coming by. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You betcha. It's been a whirlwind year for you. I mean, you have to do the political thing and run for sheriff, and then you win, and then you kind of got to gear up for the new job and do all that. We were supposed to do the show about a month ago, and you went to the inauguration, right? You're now rubbing shoulders with the bigwigs.
I don't know. It was nice. It was nice to go. It was something I've never been to before, so it was different. I enjoyed it. I was able to, there was quite a few other sheriffs up there that we were able to sit down and we were able to talk, and it was really nice.
I bet it was. That's kind of a cool thing. And you didn't grow up in the Lake area, right? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lawson, Missouri. Okay. Well, Richmond and Lawson, but mainly Lawson. I graduated from Lawson High School in 1999.
Okay, and where's Lawson?
It's in Ray County. It's north of Richmond. East of Excelsior Springs and Kearney, Missouri, right in that area.
Kind of up in the Kansas City general area up there? Yeah. Okay, so you're a big Chiefs fan then.
Oh, yes.
Can't get away from that around here, right? And I think you grew up on a farm, is that right? What kind of farm?
We grew up, initially we did some row cropping, hay, and cattle, and then as I always grew up with horses, we used horses for our cattle, and I grew up and I started raising horses and training them.
Wow. So you love some horses then, huh?
Yeah, I don't have any anymore, but I do enjoy. I miss riding horses.
Yeah, it's kind of a special thing, a special freedom when you're out on the prairie or whatever, riding along on a horse. And being a big guy, I mean, I don't know if you look big on TV, but you're a pretty big guy, right? Did you play football?
I did.
Yeah?
I did.
What was your position?
Defensive end.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you've ever played football or not, but defensive end is that's a tough position. You got to hold the edge and take a lot of hits and shots and dish it out. So did you enjoy that?
Oh, I loved it. The camaraderie in the team, I really enjoyed that. And I think that was kind of what brought me into law enforcement. And growing up, my father was on the fire department, and I got into public service through that. I started out while I was in high school as a junior firefighter. So I spent 7 years in the fire service before I left for college, and then now here we are in law enforcement. I went into the business world for a while and just did very well, but it wasn't where my heart was.
Yeah, absolutely. So playing football inspired you to get into public service in some way? How did that work?
The team, the camaraderie and building that team, I enjoyed being part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Right.
Because ultimately, on a football team, you could be a star, you could be the greatest athlete in the world, but without that team, it's not going to go very far.
Yeah.
So, and learning that everybody has their role.
Yeah. I mean, if Patrick Mahomes didn't have a line to give him some time to throw the ball, he wouldn't be any good, right?
Correct.
Or receivers to catch the ball. Yeah,
correct.
Takes the whole thing. So your dad was a firefighter, huh?
Yes.
Okay. And so then did you want to follow in his footsteps? Is that kind of why you got started in the fire business in high school or whatever?
My dad was my role model.
Yeah.
I grew up, he was always there. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what started it. He instilled in me my work ethics, working on the farms and getting into the fire service. So I wanted to, at that time, I wanted to follow in his footsteps. Yeah. And he was somebody I truly looked up to and still do.
Were you tempted at some point to stay in, firefighting and not make the jump over to law enforcement, or?
I did. I actually was in firefighting, and I did my whole EMT. I actually worked at Lake Regional Hospital for a while in the emergency room as an emergency tech. I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed helping people. Mm-hmm. At that time, I never thought I would. I always wanted to go into law enforcement, but it was hard because there wasn't like there is now a direct path. it was a lot harder to get into law enforcement, and it was almost like you had to know somebody. And
Interesting. Yeah.
so growing up, I knew the fire service area, so I was going into that area, and then which I ended up going. When I came down here, I was working at Lake Regional, and I had a construction company at that time that I was running. So I worked 2 jobs. I'd work night shift at Lake Regional, and then I'd do construction during the day.
What kind of construction was it?
Build homes.
Oh, yeah?
We were home builders.
When did you sleep? If you're working all night and all day, that's got to be draining, huh?
I didn't get a whole lot. I started out young. I purchased my first house at 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I had a drive. I wanted to be successful. I had a drive to, when I have an obstacle in front of me, I pour my heart into it, and I look at each task as I have to get this done. And so that's kind of where that led to.
Yeah. Wow. That worked out pretty good for you. And you mentioned you got an EMT license.
Yes.
Right in there. And I'm guessing, was that a part of when you were doing the firefighting stuff early? Or what made you want to get an EMT license?
Initially firefighting, and it was the helping people. If I always felt if something was wrong with somebody, I wanted to at least be able to start rendering aid and helping people.
Okay.
So, but the fire service is really what led me into that.
Right. And EMT stands for Emergency Medical Training?
Technician.
A technician. Okay. Emergency medical technician. So you would be like one of those guys going out on calls if somebody had a heart attack or somebody fell down or something like that. You probably had to see some pretty tragic stuff doing that.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
How do you get over that?
You know,
or do you get over that?
There's always a part of different calls that stay with you.
Yeah.
And back then it was, you just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You just tuck it under, and and that affects a person after time. And it took a long time. I mean, I started out very young doing that, and now we've grown so far, and even in our law enforcement field, we talk about things.
Yeah.
I brought in, now that I'm the sheriff, I brought in a mental health and wellness director that is able to work with the officers, because I know you might not be there for the physical trauma, but the mental trauma of the things that you see every day, it really takes its toll on someone.
Yeah, you have to work that out for sure. Fascinating stuff. We're talking with Sheriff Chris Edgar, Sheriff of Camden County. We'll continue the conversation when we come back on the COMC Community Spotlight Show. Central Ozarks Medical Center, voted Missouri's best and best at the lake, is recruiting team members due to growth. Amazing employment opportunities for both medical and non-medical positions with competitive salaries and outstanding perks. For more information, go to the Careers tab at centralozarks.org. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Join a leader. Join our team. COMC, where your health is our mission.
Don't miss out on your favorite show. Watch Lake TV on demand on YouTube, Roku, and Fire TV.
Welcome back to the COMC Community Spotlight Show. We're talking with Big Cheese over there at the Camden County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Chris Edgar. We were talking about the trauma of doing what you do, being the sheriff, yeah, but you've been a policeman out on the road. You've seen some things. You were an EMT. You were a firefighter. See some really nasty stuff, stuff that's hard to get over. It's kind of a new world now where we've learned to talk about that stuff, and you've tried to bring that into the sheriff's office so people can talk about it.
Correct. And And also one of the biggest aspects that helped me through that, it would be my faith. Now, granted, I'm not perfect by any means, and there's been times where God and I would argue about things because I didn't understand, and there was times where I would walk astray because I was frustrated and I didn't see the big picture. But throughout all of that, that's when my wife come into the picture and brought that back into my life.
Right.
So I admire her for that, and
how special is that, right?
It was. I'm very blessed to have an amazing wife.
Yeah, that helps. Your wife, Amanda, I believe she's a teacher?
Yes.
Is that right?
She's a process coordinator. She runs the special education department for Oak Ridge Elementary.
Okay. How cool is that? And you've done a lot of teaching over the years yourself, so you have a couple of teachers there. What have you taught?
Law enforcement.
Okay.
It's always just been within the law enforcement realm.
Okay. So I've heard the saying is the best way to learn is to teach.
Yes.
So I think even as you teach over the years, you just continue to learn and grow and get more. So Amanda comes into your life and she helps you find your faith again.
Correct.
Or get serious about it again. Being a sheriff, being in law enforcement is a dangerous job. Yes. Has she ever tried to talk you out of being a sheriff, of doing something else a little safer? Or
No.
What?
No, she's always been very supportive. I mean, she understands there's risk. And I know she had a hard time when our son went into the field. Just because we protected him, I mean, he's our baby.
Right, yeah.
And whenever he went into it, but he was also in the Army prior to that, so that's where our faith comes in. We trust God; He's going to do the right thing, and we support that decision by Him, whatever that may be. And if the Lord calls us up, eventually we'll be all back together one day.
Right. And if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, what He's called you to do, then can't argue really with that, right? Yeah, even if it's dangerous. So you grew up or in the Kansas City area, North Missouri. How'd you make your way to the lake? How'd you come here?
So initially, my grandparents moved down. They lived in Warsaw when I was growing up.
Okay.
And then they made the transition to Camden. And then when my parents retired, they came down to Camden. They bought a small little farm down here. And I was just in college. I came down for my break, and I decided, this was I liked it down here.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice being around my family again. I initially went to Northwest Missouri State University, so it was quite a bit of a drive between back from there to here. So it was nice being back home.
Something special about this area, though, really, huh?
It is, and we're very blessed. Our community and and how people can take care of each other. They get together and they'll take care of each other.
Yeah.
You don't get that everywhere.
No, you don't. And it seems to be very special around here with people doing that. Is hearing from the public important, being the sheriff? Do you like to hear from the public?
Oh, absolutely. I won't know if there's a problem if I don't hear about the problem a lot of times. And I think it's very important to be open and honest with everybody. Transparency is key. I mean, I've got to be able to communicate, and people have to be able to communicate to me.
Right. So if people want to communicate with you, the sheriff, how do they do that?
If they call up to the office, I'm always there usually, so I will always take that phone call.
Okay.
Especially if they just want to come in, they'll come and grab me, and I'll make time for people.
So you will actually, if people come into the sheriff's department, you'll talk to them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, and usually I try to at least three times a week is getting out into the community. In the mornings I go to different restaurants. We've been to Max Creek, we've been to Climax. I think it's important to be seen and hear from our citizens. So I try to get out as much as I can. And if for some reason, if somebody comes by the office and I'm not there, they will let me know, and I will make sure I call that person back.
Wow. Okay, there you go. It's Sheriff Chris Edgar, Camden County Sheriff. Thank you, sir. We're going to have you back, do some more shows because there's so much to talk about.
That would be great.
All right, and thank you for joining us for Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show.